Are you ready to present your answer to the court then, counsel? Yes, my lord. The defense will present the evidence now. Proof that the man pictured in the photographic print was in fact the person struck by the third bullet. As I mentioned before, on the afternoon of the day in question, the defendant attempted, deceitfully, admittedly, to reclaim this disc from Windibanks. Which is when the aforementioned Egbert Benedict appeared on the scene, I believe. This man then attempted to purloin the article from the defendant's possession, no? That's correct, my lord. I myself was present at the time. It was following this that a minor incident occurred. But of course, sir, here's the disc for you. Very well. Then I shall bid you farewell. Say goodbye to Sile. Wait a minute, that disc! It's mine! What do you think you're doing, you little tramp? You drawn blood, you filthy animal! Being a music box disc, it has countless small but sharp metal protrusions over its surface. Those protrusions caused Mr. Benedick's finger to bleed. And the resulting smear of blood is still visible on the disc now. Goodness, a blood stain, is it? My assistant and I have just analyzed the bloodstain here in this very courtroom. Using my trusty focal gun. Yes, I added the results to this portfolio. I say, it's green. It's exactly the same color as the blood around the calendar. I think Juror 5 was the Morse code lady, but the evidence is conclusive. The man calling himself Mr. Egbert Benedict, who was in Windibanks earlier in the day, is the accomplice who was present at the scene of the crime that same night. So there was someone else there. Look at those two brothers now. They're in sweating buckets. Oi, what are you talking about? It's boiling in here. My lord, it is the opinion of the defense that Mr. Egbert Benedict should be summoned to the courtroom to testify. It would certainly seem that we can ill afford to ignore this gentleman's apparent presence. This has gone on long enough now. Flagrant ignorance of the mechanics of law. Herlock Sholmes, you say? Yes, I've heard the name. Protagonist in a series of short stories for the vulgar classes. A god of detection of such. And now you employ chemical substances devised by this fantastical persona in the highest court in the land. Do you expect us to take you seriously? The samples made by this plaything are not fit to be called evidence. The bloodstain turned a shade of green, and what of it? History of successfully proving that no other blood in the world would turn the same color. Well... And pray, don't even think of suggesting that we should take Mr. Sholmes' word for it. Is he right? Is Mr. Sholmes... I don't know. I mean, he is a great detective. What are you talking about? We can't let him get away with that. I knew it would come to this. Of course, Mr. Sholmes' invention isn't going to be recognized by any official body. But what other choice did I have? I'm just remembering what Father Christmas over there said before. About how he was temporarily spending the summation examination. In other words, the examination isn't over yet, is it? Good grief. What did you just say, young girl? In a summation examination, the decision as to whether or not the trial continues is in the hands of the 6 jurors, isn't it? So the way I see it, doesn't matter what certain other people think of Hurley's invention. At least, not for now. Yes, she's right. Young lady, you have quite a devious mind. It really just comes down to one thing. Are they these ladies and gentlemen of the jury? I'll convince by what you say, Bruno. Is that about right, what you say? Or did I misunderstand something? Unbelievable. Mr. Sholmes' partner is a force to be reckoned with. Iris Wilson, sharpshooter. After that shrewd précis of the situation from an entirely unexpected source, it must be acknowledged that the previous summation examination has yet to reach its conclusion. This is absurd. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court now looks to you for your final leanings in this matter. As proud citizens of Her Majesty's Britain, I'm sure you will come to fair and just conclusions. So then, state your final decisions in turn, please.
無罪
無罪有罪
有罪
無罪
Unequal. That's continuing, eh? 2 called guilty, and 4 called not guilty. Such is the outcome of the summation examination. My lord, with all due respect, this is an outrage. The prosecution refuses to accept this decision. On what grounds? If these jurors are persuaded by some half-baked concoction devised by their pretender to real police work, then they are too ignorant to be trusted with the judgment of anyone's guilt. I'm sorry, Lord Van Zieks, but the outcome of the summation examination cannot be ignored. This trial will continue. Nevertheless, we find ourselves in a rather awkward situation. The defense has very reasonably requested the subpoena of a new witness. But sadly, I fear that will be impossible. What? The name of the gentleman gave for himself, Egbert Benedict, is quite clearly false. I don't believe it. Just wanted to manage to prove the man was there that night. Could I say something? Who was that, please? Who spoke? It was me, my lord. Juror number 5. What have you to say, madam? If possible. Inspector. Me, ma'am? I wonder if you might show the photographic print to me again. The one in which the gentleman is shown. Right, yes. This is what you mean? Of Mr. Benedict? Yes. There's no doubt in my mind. Juror number 5. You don't mean to say... You know this man? Yes, I know of him. I know him. What? No! Good gracious! Order, order, order! Juror number 5, how on earth? I'm a communications officer, stop. As we can clearly see, the gentleman in the photograph is stop. Also a communications officer, stop. He works in my office, stop. Holy moly. A very talented operator, in fact, stop. He should be in the communication station now, stop. Tapping away on the telegraph, stop. Doesn't seem right somehow. I can't put my finger on why, but it just doesn't feel right. As well as we all imagine the accomplice would be some sort of hardened criminal. It's a bit unexpected to find out that he has a respectable job by day, whatever he gets up to at night. Yes, I suppose that's it. I suppose that's why I felt something was wrong. If the gentleman is at London Communication Station, we should be able to subpoena him within the hour. Lord Van Zieks, if you please. Yes, my lord. Make the necessary arrangements with all haste. As your lordship bids. Court will recess for 1 hour. When the new witness arrives, we shall reconvene to hear the gentleman's testimony. Inspector Gregson. Yes, my lord. I should like to hear from you specifically about the events at the prom bakery on the day in question. Come to my chambers during the recess. Yes, sir, my lord. Very well. The court is adjourned until 1:40 p.m. Oh, man. To be continued. Wowie wowie. April, 12:41 p.m. The Old Bailey Defense Antechamber. Ah, Gina, how are you holding up? I'm starting to feel quite warmly towards her frequent cold shoulders now. Ginny, are you alright? Why aren't you saying anything? What's the point, eh? Why go all this trouble and fight so hard for the likes of me? What? Well, you saw it, that picture. What picture? Ah, you mean this? The recorder taken by Hurley's red-handed recorder. Well, I didn't think it would capture a scene like this, that's for sure. It's obelisk. Anyone who sees that gonna think I did it, ain't they? Well, I won't pretend it wasn't a bit of a shock when the prosecution first presented it to the court. Surely you got to have your doubts about me now. You can't think I'm innocent. You can't still think I'm innocent. Of course I can. Ginny, why don't you talk to us? Tell us what really happened that night. Bruno's cleverly managed to piece together a lot of new information, but still, we'd really like to hear it from you. Alright then. It was after we had that dinner together at your place, right, Iris? Then we all had a chat up in your office, didn't we? Yes, I remember. After that, I couldn't just get to sleep. So I slipped out and went down to the street to the 2-to-1 to Winterbeck's place. I had to know if Iris' story was there or not, the Hound of the Baskervilles. I don't know what it is about or nothing, but if you ask me, there's something in it that Sholmes don't like, something what everyone don't want people reading. So that's why I lied to Iris about sticking it in log with Winterbeck for safekeeping. At least that's what I thought at the time. So you broke into Winterbeck's. I just had to know if it was there or not. I mean, I had no idea all that was going to kick off, did I? Did I? I struck the lock and I snuck inside. As dark as you like in there. So I gave the oil lamp on the counter a bigger wick. That's when... What do you think you're doing? Ah! I nearly died. I did. The next thing I knew... I grabbed the gun off the counter and was waving it in the air like... I don't know what. Ah, you're the girl who was in here this afternoon. I didn't think pickpockets went in for armed robbery. The manuscript. Have you got it here? This shows you a load of papers with you. A story. I beg your pardon? The Hound of the... something or other. If it was here, I want to see it. I'm sorry, young lady. I'd sooner die than relinquish an article belonging to one of my customers. I don't want it. What will I do with it anyway? I just want to see it. I want to see it's here. That's all. Oh, you want to see it, do you? I want to know if Sholmes really pawned it here or not. Please, just let me see it and I'll go. Oh, very well then. But for pity's sake, stop waving my gun around, would you? Then the old cove unlocked the storeroom door and we both went inside. And it was there, alright. Manuscript. Sholmes wasn't lying after all. You did all that just to check for me, Ginny. Anyway, there was a bit of a nick up out in the main bit of the shop. The Skulkin brothers were arriving. The Skulkin brothers were arriving on the scene. Yes. What was that noise? Someone's breaking in. Dear me, is there some burglars convention here tonight that I don't know about? I think I forgot to shut the door behind me. Sorry. I better go and take care of it. Could I possibly have my gun back? Oh, well, I'll come with you and... Now, don't be foolish, young girl. You must stay right here. Don't leave this room under any circumstances. And with that, he took the gun out of my hands and walked back out to the shop, into the shop. I hung back in the storm like he said, straining my ears in the dark to hear what was going on. It sounded like they got into a bit of a scrap. And so I think I should help, see? I was just about to go out into the storeroom myself when... Oh, 2 gunshots. I had a couple of shots go off, too, I think. Almost at the same time. And then there he was, right at my feet, lying face down on the floor. I was right next to the storeroom door, so I slammed it and shut and locked it, quick as you like. Because you thought whoever had shot Mr. Winberg might come for you. Yeah, so I wanted to grab the the old cove's gun. I forgot I put up a fight at least. When I got a better look at him, I knew. Winterbank was a goner. I felt funny in my head all of a sudden. Kinda dizzy. After that, I don't remember nothing. It must have been when you passed out, Gina. If I hadn't done what I'd done, the old cove might still be alive. Did you tell the police everything you just told us? Of course I did, but they didn't believe a word of it, did they? All they said was, if I kept telling lies, it'd make things even worse for me. It'll be alright, Ginny. Don't worry. Just stay strong a little longer. Runa's about to put the real culprit through the mill. That cove what was there in the afternoon? The Egbert Benedict. Still remember how he looked at me like I was nothing? He was there that night. We don't know his real name yet, but I'm convinced he's involved somehow. Anyway, thank you for telling us what happened, Gina. I appreciate your honesty. You what? You can leave it all to Runo's capable hands now, Ginny. Mr. Naruto. Yes? How come you trust me? I don't get it. I mean, have you forgotten what happened here before? Come on, it was only 2 months ago. Me and McGill did. We told you a whole pack of lies. And you got the bog trotter off of him, even though he was a killer. No, I can never forget that. Oh. I did what I thought was best at the time. But the pain of that error of judgment doesn't get any easier to bear. Still, don't forget that I also made you a promise. I told you that I'd be on your side to the bitter end, no matter what. But what if I'm lying? You could be working to get another killer off the hook, for all you know. I was once in your position, Gina. I was the accused in a trial. You were? Before I left Japan, I was accused of murder. And strange as it might sound, the circumstances of the crime were pretty damning. I was sure that no one would believe it wasn't me who'd done it. Oh, Runo. But there was one person who stood up for me, who believed in me, and was prepared to defend for me. My best friend. Ryunosuke. No one believes in you more than I do. Leave this to me. All you need to do is put your faith into me, and I'll do the rest. I was so happy, I cried. But even then, somewhere inside me, I couldn't help thinking, surely he doesn't really believe in me. Not completely. But I was wrong. As soon as my trial began, it was obvious that he had an absolute, unwavering belief in me. And in turn, I developed an absolute, unwavering belief in him. Since then, I came to realize, if you want someone to believe in you, you have to believe in the other person first. Believe in me, who believes in you? What are you saying? I promise you, Gina, that no matter what happens, I'll keep believing in you. So you don't need to worry. I won't let you down. Even though I'm a diver, and a no good liar. You're not like McGilded. I know that. Eh? That's right. You're our friend, Ginny. But Iris. We know you better than you think. We've come to the conclusion that you're someone we can trust. Yes. That's really all we need to know. Exactly. Oh, Miss Odo, Defendant Gina Lestrade and her legal representative. Court proceedings are about to resume. Please head into the courtroom immediately. Yes, of course. Thank you. I've been both a defendant and defending lawyer in my time, so I knew it only too well. Just how hard it was to put all your faith in another. And I also knew just how hard it was to bear the burden of another, putting all their faith in you. This is it at last, the final chapter, the final battle. Wish me luck, Suzuto-san, and I hope you're watching over me too, partner. Woo! Holy moly! 17th April, 1:41 p.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. I hereby call this court to order as we resume the trial of Miss Gina Lestrade. Lord Van Zieks, have you successfully subpoenaed the witness? Okay, I'm actually gonna look this word up really quick so I can pronounce it correctly. Subpoena? Subpoena. 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 Okay, subpoena. Subpoenated? Subpoenated? The subpoena. Okay. Sorry for that small interjection. Subpoena. The subpoena was delivered to the communication station where the man works immediately, my lord. However, the heavy rain has delayed the arrival of his carriage, it would seem. I see. Then let us return our attention to Mr. Gregson's precis of the case heard by the court this morning. The glaring omission of the third bullet in your report is a serious blunder, Inspector. Yes, I can only apologize, my lord. Although the defense's chemical analysis of the blood at the scene makes for a compelling argument, I cannot permit such untried methods to be used as evidence in my courtroom. It's a big mistake to cross Hurley and me. A very big mistake. My lord, the subpoenaed witness has just arrived in the building. Thank you, officer. Show him to the stand without delay. Mr. Egbert Benedict. I didn't expect to be crossing paths with him again so soon. Well, certainly not like this. Thank you for complying with the court's subpoena. Subpoena at such short notice, sir. But of course, my lord. As an upstanding member of London society, it is my pleasure to oblige. Now, kindly state your name and occupation for the record. Ashley Graydon, Communications Officer. Mr. Graydon and I both work at London's Central Communications Station. Now, perhaps someone could kindly explain what all this is about? You were apprised of the situation by the court officer on your way here, I presume. Yes, I was. Something to do with a murder that took place at a pawnbroker's on Baker Street. And some nonsense about me having been there on the night in question. That is the accusation, indeed. This really is beyond a joke, don't you know? Very well, without further delay, the court will hear your testimony now, Mr. Graydon. You will respond to the accusation made against you under oath. Gladly, my lord. Gladly. The accusation. Naturally, I have the occasion to make use of pawnbroking services from time to time. But are you seriously suggesting I colluded with these thugs to break into a place on the night of the murder? I have no intention of admitting to such an outrageous accusation, even if certain parties or present claim that my blood was found at the scene. Her Scaramouche, a detective's homebrewed tincture, can hardly be taken as serious evidence. So, you deny the accusation completely, do you? I must say, I am dismayed. The highest court in the land to be swayed by this self-professed detective's toy. It was the will of the jury, and our great British justice system demands that the jury's will is upheld. Then it would seem we have the misfortune of a most inept assembly of jurors today. By golly! How long am I expected to be detained here? If, following the defense's cross-examination, your involvement in this matter has not been established, you will be free to leave immediately. Good. Then I shall be away in time for afternoon tea. Some small consolation, at least. Does not hold up Mr. Grayson any longer than necessary, counsel. Proceed with the cross-examination. So, we meet again, Mr. Egbert Benedict. Or is it Mr. Graydon? My apologies, you are? Yunosuke Naruhodo, defense lawyer. We have met. If you say so, Ashley Graydon. Enchante. So. I trust we can conclude this quickly. But I'm not holding your flashlight hat while we do. Alright. So, something I actually want to take a look at quickly. Oh, can we not look at, can't look at people's profiles right now. Guess we can do it once we start a conversation. Ashley Graydon, operator at the Central Communications Agency, subpoenaed because he was caught on a photograph taken by the red-handed recorders in the pawnbrokery. Yes, we even met in the very pawnbrokery where the crime took place on the afternoon of the day in question. Though, of course, you introduced yourself by a different name at the time. It was Mr. Egbert Benedict, I believe. Tell me, what made you... The witness is here to testify about the events that took place that night. He is under no obligation to answer such unrelated questions. You can't be serious. Thank you, because I certainly do not feel inclined to answer such an inappropriate question. So he's going to be evasive, is he? In an effort not to give anything away. This could be tricky. Have you seen these two men before? This pair? No, I don't associate with criminals. Said by a man who introduced himself as Egbert Benedict. I'd like to know who I have to thank for this. Who made this outlandish accusation against me? The young lawyer there in the black. This is a farce. Whose idea was it to permit an outsider to work in a British court anyway? Well, needless to say. Were you at around 1 in the morning on the night in question? Where were you at around 1 in the morning on the night in question, sir? That's past the hour at which I would normally retire. Certainly. I was not in the company of these rapscallions. Able to prove that? Listen carefully, my Lord Nipponese friend. You appear to be under a gross misapprehension on this point. What do you mean? The witness maintains he was not at the scene of the crime. He has no obligation to prove his absence. If your accusation is that the witness was present at the scene, the obligation lies with you to prove your assertion. You will fulfill that obligation before putting any more unreasonable questions to the witness. Silent victory wiggle. Thanks. Even if certain parties here present claim that my blood was found at the scene. Blood was found at the scene of the crime. There's no question of that. Mr. Strom's chemical analysis has positively identified the substance as such. But I'm not the only human to have blood running through my veins, am I? How How can you be so sure that the blood is mine? It could equally be the blood of one of these two miscreants. Every individual's blood has slightly different composition, it seems. Mr. Sholmes is chemical. Spare me the science lesson. Who is this Sholmes character, anyway? Oh, I assumed all Londoners know the name. He's a great, renowned detective. So, even you are unable to bring yourself to say great detective. A great detective, you say? Now in for a realm of fairy tales, are we? You have anything to say about that, Mr. Skulkin? Oh, what? Me? No, the Mr. Skulkin next to you. Right, I have it up to here with this. How many times have I got to tell you? Yes, I know, you're not Big Bro Sulky. Mr. Nash Skulkin. Go blind me, Governor. What? It's not the case that when Mr. Graydon just spoke, a thought went through your mind. Would you care to share that thought with the court? Me thoughts? I did not have none of them. It must have been him. You what? Mr. Nash Skulkin, answer the question, please. What went through your mind when Mr. Graydon just spoke? Nothing, honest, Gov, nothing. I was just thinking. If he waves his arm around like that much more, it'll open up the wound again, that's all. What wound? Well, it took the bullet, of course. It was only 2 days ago. It ain't gonna be healed up yet. So I was, well, you know, I was running from him, and... Oh, those bells. Mr. Graydon, did you hear that? What? Your comrade is worried about you, it seems. On account of your injured arm. My lord. Yes, Mr. Graydon? I have no idea what these two wretches are talking about. Certainly, I shouldn't be expected to answer anything in relation to their mindless insinuations. You know that someone other than the victim was hit by a bullet at the scene of the crime 2 nights ago. And from the height of the bullet hole in the wall, the person was likely hit in the upper arm or thereabouts. Perhaps you'd allow the court official to examine your arm, sir. The left arm that you're currently clasping with your right hand as if in pain. No. I refuse. I have shown no evidence whatsoever that links me to these common thieves. Accordingly, I'm not obliged to permit any such invasion of my privacy. As I've already said, I'm completely uninvolved with all this. I've never had anything to do with the pawnbrokery, but this fellow was killed whatsoever. I take offense at the insinuation that I was in any way involved. You claim to have had nothing whatsoever to do with Mr. Windbank's pawnbrokery. My lord, the defense would like that last statement to be added to Mr. Graydon's formal testimony. Very well, counsel. Continue with your testimony, Mr. Graydon. The bottom line is I never had anything to do with the pawnbroking establishment where the man was killed. Well, we definitely have evidence to do with that. I mean, the photograph specifically, right? Where's the photograph that has him on it? We don't have that yet, right? Yeah, I don't think so. Let's press it first, just in case. Never had anything to do with it? I forget I was there, Mr. Graydon, on the very afternoon of the incident. Obviously, I'm not a complete stranger to the pawnbrokers. I'm currently on the lookout for an armchair to furnish my study. No, you were there to redeem an article. I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah, he was literally there too, so he can testify against that. You have anything to add, Inspector? Eh? Come again? Sunshine? You were there too, in fact, weren't you, Inspector, that afternoon? Well, yes, I do remember meeting yourself in the pawnbrokers that afternoon. You, your young Japanese assistant, and the accused were all present, as I recall. And at the time, the witness, Mr. Graydon, was trying to acquire a particular article. Well now. What? Tell the truth, dude! I'm afraid I don't remember too clearly. What? What? I must! I'm not going to lie and pretend I remember something that I don't. What's going on here? What is going on here? Grexy showed his picture before, didn't he? You know, from the cameras that Hurley installed in Windex? Yes, of course. Indeed. But the gentleman pictured bears a striking resemblance to the witness, I must say. Exactly, which proves Mr. Graydon was in the shop on the afternoon in question. No point have I denied that fact. I merely entered the shop to peruse articles on sale and have a word with the broker. Nothing more. This makes no sense. I understand why Mr. Graydon might be trying to cover his tracks. But why would Gregson be trying to avoid giving testimony about what happened? It's always going to stay on the matter, isn't it? What do you think, Reno? I think he has no intention of telling us anything. He's well aware that the less he says, the less chance he has of giving himself away. The complete opposite of Hurley, then. He seems to think that the more he says, the better. Well, at least I managed to prize a little more information from these witnesses' lips. All thanks to the Skulkin brothers. Yes, they were the key to it after all. So he says he had nothing to do with Windibanks. Well, you know, that's not true. Perhaps now would be a good time to have a proper look through the court record. Good idea. You never know what tiny scrap of information could become a valuable weapon. Okay. So we gotta present something here. One small box. So this is, okay, so that doesn't have anything to do with them. Oops. So we know that's his blood. Mr. Mason's blood. Okay. So there's nothing specific here either. Do we just want to present the music disc here? I guess so. That's my guess, but I'm just gonna look at everything to be sure. Autopsy report. Okay, so let's present the music disc. Alright. Have you ever seen this disc before, Mr. Graydon? Why? Is this supposed to mean something? This disc was, until the day of his murder, in pawn in Mr. Winbank's shop. It was reading by the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, that afternoon. However, somebody mysteriously appeared to try to take it from her. And that somebody was you, of course, wasn't it, Mr. Graydon? As I reiterated numerous times now, you are mistaken. That was not me. I've never seen that disc before in my life. May have escaped your notice, but there's a small smear of blood on the disc. Ah, yes, resulting from abrasion of the thumb, perhaps. That's right. The surface of the disc is covered in hundreds of tiny metal bumps. In the skirmish to acquire the disc, the thumb of the person who tried to take it suffered minor lacerations. So, while the disc bears the remnants of that skirmish in the form of the smear of blood, the thumb of the person in question must bear the remnants too, in the form of a scratch. Good gracious, indeed it must! Mr. Graydon, you refused to allow the court examiner to examine your arm before. Are you now going to refuse to allow us to examine your thumb? Because I have no doubt that it bears a small scratch, consistent with the smear of blood on this disc. Well, well. It would seem I underestimated you. What is the meaning of this? So you admit it now. You admit you have a scratch on your thumb from when you attempted to take the disc from the defendant. Order, order. Well, Mr. Graydon? It would appear there has been something of a misunderstanding here. I did not attempt to take the disc, as you put it. No. Quite the reverse. What are you trying to say? It's really quite simple, you see. This was mine from the outset. Is there some crime in taking an item that you own out of pawn? What? It would seem, Mr. Graydon, that in this piece of evidence my learned friend has established a link between yourself and the incident. Accordingly, you will tell the court everything you know about this disc now. As you wish. Though I'm quite sure it has nothing whatsoever to do with the pawnbroker's murder. The disc. There's a note on the disc saying, "For McGilded," but that item belongs to me. The redemption ticket was stolen from me by the accused, that filthy gutterling, on the day in question. I proceeded at once to the shop in order to explain my situation and redeem my article. In the end, of course, the disc was taken by the police. In other words, I had absolutely no reason to break into the shop later that same night. Did I hear you correctly, sir? McGill, did you say? The famous London philanthropist? Who perished in the very courtroom 2 months ago after being acquitted of a distinctly messy murder. Yes, my lord. The one and the same. Good lord, Mr. Graydon. Are you saying that Mr. McGilded and yourself were acquainted? Yes, that's correct. Order. Well, I certainly didn't expect to hear that name uttered here in my courtroom again. According to what Gina told us, this was placed in that pond that fateful night 2 months ago. McGill himself gave instructions to deposit it at Windibanks. It's funny that Mr. Graydon here is claiming this belongs to him then, isn't it? In all likelihood, he's lying. So he appeared that afternoon at Windibanks in order to get his hands on McGild's disc for some reason. Counsel, you will commence your cross-examination, please. There's a note on the disc saying, "For McGilded, but the item belongs to me." Would you care to explain how this belongs to you? As you will observe, a communications officer such as myself commands a fine salary. You're certainly exquisitely dressed, sir. So you see, I have little need to make use of services provided by the pawnbrokery trade. However, I did once find myself in difficulties having misplaced my purse whilst on an errand, which is why I pawned my fine black overcoat to the broker in question. You claim that was your overcoat. Obviously, and in my haste I clean forgot. The music box disc was in his pocket. And yet, there's a note on it that reads, "For McGilded." I'm a collector of rare and unusual music box music. I first met Mr. McGilded at a gentleman's club in the city, and was interested to discover that he shared my penchant in that area. So, the disc in question. It's a pre-production sample. I promised to let Mr. McGilded hear it. But then you forgot that it was in the pocket of your overcoat that you were forced to pawn. Yes, exactly. Jenny didn't mention any of that in her testimony 2 months ago, did she? No, because Mr. McGilded had threatened her to keep her mouth shut. Which means that if we dig too deeply here, it's going to expose Gina's perjury. Oh dear, this is complicated, isn't it? Let's leave it alone for the time being. Redemption ticket was stolen. So you're saying that Miss Lestrade lifted the ticket from your pocket or bag? That's right. Despite being mindful of danger when walking in the insalubrious areas of her kind frequent. Miss Lestrade did no such thing. But of course you would take that sense, but the girl is a regular offender. We came to the pawnbrokery that day, prepared with all the information you needed to identify the defendant. You were looking for her. That's what brought you to Windibanks. To get your hands on Mr. McGilded's disc. My learned friend is a veritable font of nonsense. Nonsense? I concur with the prosecution. Counsel, you refrain from conjecturing in this way. Is that clear? Yes, my lord. Then I will continue with my testimony. What possible use can it be? To explain my situation about the article. Have you ever been to Windibanks before? Only once, for the purposes of pawning something. but like many, I enjoy browsing in such establishments. So when you noticed that the pickpocket had taken your ticket, you chased after her, is that correct? Yes, that's right. I didn't notice first, of course. Such is the art of the pickpocket. But when I did, I headed to the pawnbrokery at once in order to reclaim my coat before the thief could. I was merely trying to recover what was rightfully mine in the first place. Ugh, he can say what he likes because he knows we have no evidence to contradict him on this. In the end, of course, the disc wasn't taken by the police. This was taken by the police. Yes, it was taken by Inspector Gregson here, wasn't it? That's right. This was the very man. Apparently the police are collecting anything that has a connection to Mr. McGilden as evidence. Sold up the car. Something wrong, Inspector?
What do you mean?
Last remark Mr. Graydon made in his testimony seemed to trouble you in some way.
No, it didn't. It's nothing. Leave it alone.
Let me ask you this, Inspector. Why is Scotland Yard gathering Mr. McGilden's possessions?
I can tell you something like that, Sunshine.
What is it, Inspector?
Investigative secrets? Yes, exactly. You should know all about that.
Magnus McGilden, who died so unexpectedly after his trial 2 months ago. Man renowned throughout the capital for his great contributions to public life, and yet a dark side too.
Where are you going with this, Van Zieks?
I suppose the police are dealing with the aftermath of his nefarious activities, are they?
That's enough. Couples like me have duties to carry out that we're not at liberty to talk about. That's all you need to know.
Duties conferred by Lord Strongheart, I presume. The Lord Chief Justice appears to have great faith in you, Inspector.
The bottom line is, if you want to get more out of me, you're going to need Lord Strongheart's paw print first.
What's all this about? It's like there's something going on between Gregson and Lord Van Zieks here.
Well, it would appear that the Inspector has revealed all he has at liberty to reveal. Mr. Graydon, let us return to your testimony.
Gladly, my lord. No reason to break into the shops later that night. Perhaps you've seen something of value among the forfeited items. No, not at all. The valuer was brought in by the police to assess everything in the shop. Without exception, every article on the shelves was common or garden bric-a-brac. In that case, it's clear. You broke into the shop later that day in order to recover Mr. McGilden's disc. Have you not been listening, man? Even if I had wanted to recover the disc, you may recall that it had been seized by the police that afternoon. There was no more in the shop than I. As I keep saying, I had simply no reason to break in. There was nothing of McGilden's left in the shop that night. Nothing this man might have been after. I wonder if that's really true. You know, if you have some evidence, let him have it. I'm dying to see that irritatingly assured expression of his crumble. McGilden slipped the disc into his coat pocket and had it deposited at Windibank's. Then, when he realized he was going to be arrested on suspicion of the omnibus murder, he threatened Gina and forced her to take the redemption ticket. There's no doubt about it, that witness is lying through his pretty white teeth. Police were obviously after anything left behind by McGilden as well. That's why Inspector Gregson ended up taking the disc into custody that day. But Gregsy's being very strange about all this. There must be a reason for that, I'm sure. I just don't know what it is. For now, I need to focus on exposing the fact that Mr. Graydon is lying in his testimony. Okay. No reason to break into the shop. So we had a reason, right? It wasn't this. Or this. So why would he have to enter the shop? Logan Brothers gun, Windibank's gun. coat? Oh, the box. Oh, the box. Must have wanted the box. The cyst was deposited at Windbanks on Magnus McGilden's instructions. You knew that, and you went there with the intention of obtaining it for yourself. Conjecture again. And in any case, the disc was taken into custody by the police that afternoon. The witness has no reason to visit the pawnbrokery again that night. Sorry, my learned friend. That's not true. What? Mr. McGilden had another article in pawn at Windibanks. As this. Second pawnbroker's ticket proves. Ugh. There were 2 articles belonging to Mr. McGilden in the Windibanks pawnbrokery. The reason you broke into the shop that night was to recover the second one. Together with your 2 accomplices, the Skulkin brothers. Ah. This is the second ticket, is it? What had the man deposited? The article description reads, 1 small box. Rather vague description, it seems to me. Are you suggesting that I broke into the pawnbrokery with these clowns in order to steal some trinket box? I believe there are adequate grounds to suspect that you did. This is absurd. Why on earth would I do such a thing? Once the article had been forfeited, I could simply walk into the shop and purchase it. There would be absolutely no need for me to resort to theft. That's a good point. Indeed. The witness makes a solid argument. So, that means for that some reason. This Grendenfell needed that small box that very night, does it? It's time to put an end to this nonsense, my lord. Could you be a little less cryptic, Lord Van Zieks? I do hate to ruin my learned friend's argument, but the truth is quite incontrovertible. On the night in question, no small box was taken from Windbank's pawnbrokery. And rest assured, the prosecution can prove it. What? Good gracious. Inspector, show the photographic prints to the court, if you please. Yes, sir. What prints? These prints were taken from one of the detective's security cameras. Ah, Hurley's red-handed recorders again. As previously explained, using this plan of the shop layout. The victim's establishment was furnished with automatic cameras in 2 locations. One was set to capture the counter where Mr. Windibank received his customers. The other was set to capture the shelves on which the articles were placed for sale once forfeited. According to the information on this ticket, McGilden's small box had been forfeited already, 2 days before the incident, at 9 PM on 13th of April, to be precise. Which means it would have been on the shelves of the forfeited items in the shop front. Now, what I have here is a print taken by one of the cameras about 2 hours before the incident. That's at 11 PM on 15th April. The victim certainly had a very full shop, it would appear. And here we have another print. This one was taken about 2 hours after the incident. I see. We have 2 pictures to compare. So I must say that placing them side by side leaves me cold. So we must see a difference, and we gotta use a stereoscope for this. For sure. We'll find it somewhere. Definitely. I think I see it. It's like to the middle right? Or like it's to the right and then like middle of the... near the middle. Dear me, that's starting to make my head ache. Obviously, at Scotland Yard, we consider theft as one possible motive in this case. We explore the possibility that something had been taken in addition to the victim's life. So your men have already compared these 2 prints thoroughly, Inspector? Yes, sir. We counted every single item in each of these 2 photographic prints. The odds conclusion is that exactly the same number are present in both. In other words, nothing was taken from the pawnbrokery on the night in question. And my learned friend's assertion is nothing more than a hopeful fantasy. Ah! I don't believe it. If we had just shown that he had stolen McGilda's pawn box. I might have been able to break him down at last. You know what, Bruno? I've been thinking. I wonder if these two photographs really are exactly the same. What? So, counsel, in the light of evidence put forward by the prosecution, what is your position? It seems that, in fact, on the night in question, nothing was stolen from the victim's establishment. Do you accept the prosecution's assertion? I don't know. Could there be some sort of hidden discrepancy in these two photograph prints somewhere? There is a discrepancy. Oh, I see it. So if you look you look at the horse's head, go to the shelf, the like box space to the right of it, and then there's that brown box, right, with like the yellow ornamentation next to it. If you look at it, it's on the left side of the photo, the like stand-up photo, and then in the right picture, it's slightly to the right instead. I wasn't sure at first, but there's a clear discrepancy between these two prints. What? You must identify the location in the question for the court, counsel. Indicate the precise location of the discrepancy of which you speak. Yeah, right there. Granted, these two prints are almost identical. However, there's one minor discrepancy between them. What? When you view the two pictures stereoscopically, a single area stands out as being different, the location of the small box. Let me... wait. Unbelievable. By Jove, you're right. How extraordinary. Cross-eyed. Weston tells this is very simple. Mr. McGilda's small box was indeed not stolen from Windibanks on the night in question. However, there can be no doubt that somebody picked up this particular box and then returned it to its place on the shelves. Are you suggesting that the small box originally deposited by Mr. McGilda is in fact... Yes, the very same small box I had just identified in those photograph prints. By this guesswork, what if it was? So the box was moved on the shelf, nothing was stolen. Which means quite simply, that nothing has changed. That may be true, but... Alright, McGilda's box wasn't stolen then. But doesn't change the fact that it was moved like that... But doesn't the fact that it was moved like that change things? It changes everything. I believe this changes everything about the case. How can that possibly be? The crucial point is the fact that what was moved was the small box. In other words, we might have to consider what might have been inside that box. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that we need to examine that box as soon as possible. A vital piece of evidence is sitting on the shelves at Windibank as we speak. That won't be necessary. Some little box belonging to a man who died 2 months ago can't possibly be relevant to this trial. Court does not uphold your objection, Lord Van Zieks. Bailiff, arrange for an officer to go to Baker Street at once. Obtain the small box in question and bring it back here for further examination. We should have a report within half an hour. I think perhaps we should recess for a short while until the evidence is brought forth. To be hoodwinked by such a farce. Disappointing. I beg your pardon, Lord Van Zieks? This is nothing but a smokescreen. Nipponese specialty, it would seem. What are you trying to say? My learned friend has persisted with the same line of reasoning from the very beginning. This witness's intent was to steal an article belonging to Mr. McGilda's from the pawnbrokery. Yet, common sense tells us that none of the articles have value enough to be worth stealing in the first place. Exactly. It would be beyond absurd to break into a place for the purpose of stealing such commonplace property. If your lordship recalls, Mr. McGilden perished 2 months ago, immediately after the conclusion of this trial. A trial in which he was found not guilty. A trial in which it was established he was the upstanding member of society, his reputation implied, in fact. So I propose a toast to my learned friend, his most insightful defense.
The articles of this upstanding member of the society pawn were entirely ordinary. A black overcoat that just happened to have a music box disc in one of its pockets, and a small box. I assure you, I wouldn't accept even if the man tried to make a gift of such things to me. You know, that does make a rather lot of sense. It's not as if it was gold or jewels, is it? Oh, goodness knows Mr. McGill was rich enough.
But you can't deposit cash at a pawnbroker, I'm quite certain of that. The prosecution's argument is undeniably compelling. It is incumbent on the defense now to bolster its argument. To explain what possible significance these commonplace articles pawned by this fine citizen could have. While counsel, is your argument in fact demonstrable? Are you able to show proof that this disc or the box are in any tangible way related to this case?
Well, what's the matter, Bruno? We know that they're related, don't we? They're both vital pieces of evidence.
Yes, of course. You and I both know that. We know McGilden's true character, and we know the disc is significant, even if we don't know why. But to explain all that to the court at this point, we'll have to acknowledge that McGilden's acquittal 2 months ago was a mistake. The defense's argument was flawed, based on false information.
Oh no!
And that would mean admitting that Gina committed perjury.
But Ginny...
Could it be that Van Zieks knows? Is that why he's doing this now? Because he anticipated everything?
But maybe... this could be a great opportunity for us.
Sorry? What do you mean, Iris?
Well, what is it that you always say, Bruno? Sooner or later, the truth comes out. Every time.
Alright. The exact significance of these things that McGilden deposited with Windbank is something that only Gina can explain to the court. But I put her on the stand to testify about that. It can critically damage her chances of winning this case. What's the right thing to do here? Oh man. I mean, have Gina testify. That's the only way, right? So, like, at least she might be in trouble for perjury, but she won't get in trouble for murder. And the point is to extract the complete truth, which is the only way. My lord, the defense would like to make a proposal. Oh, what proposal, counsel? While the court awaits the arrival of Mr. McGilden's small box, I'd like to call the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, to the witness stand.
The defendant?
To what end? It's to do with the various articles deposited at Windbanks by Mr. McGilden, my lord. Miss Lestrade has information relating to them. I believe it would be beneficial for the court to hear what she has to say. We'll prove the significance of the articles in question, once and for all. Well, well. Things are becoming interesting. I presume you've considered the implications of the testimony you're proposing. In particular, the impact it will have on the accused's standing, and indeed your own. I have. Lord Van Zieks, would you care to explain that last remark? The prosecution accepts the defense's proposal. I move to interrupt the cross-examination of the current witness and hear from the accused herself. Very well, if you have no objection. So, the court will now hear the testimony of the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. Your witness is currently in the stand and may step down until further notice.
And I shall bid you good day.
Wait. You, sir, shall remain in the stand while Miss Lestrade testifies.
As you wish.
Alright then, Gina. It's time. I know this will be hard, but please, put your faith in me here.
Good luck, Bruno.
Okay. The articles that Mr. McGilden had deposited in Windibank's pawnbrokery are intimately related with the omnibus case, the trial of which was heard in this courtroom 2 months ago. Yes, and I remember this young lady being brought before me in that trial as well. That's right, my lord. Testimony helped to establish the innocence of the defendant, Mr. McGilden. The omnibus case was intriguing, to say the least. And now, here we all are again. The same players in that trial, facing each other once more. A twist of fate, perhaps. My Nipponese friend. Allow me to recap the events of 2 months ago. An old brickmaker was stabbed to death in an omnibus running along London's winter streets. Apart from the victim, there was only one other person in the carriage, Mr. McGilden. Naturally, he was the prime suspect for the murder. As the trial progressed, another possibility emerged. The murder, in fact, took place above the defendant's head on the roof deck, with the body being dropped through the skylight into the carriage below. It was Miss Lestrade whose testimony brought that possibility to light. At the time of the incident, Miss Lestrade was concealed under a seat in the carriage, hoping to pick the pockets of unsuspecting passengers. Then, immediately after the trial, having been acquitted of the murder, Mr. McGilder died in this very courtroom, in the most extraordinary of circumstances. A mystery that remains unsolved, even now, 2 months on. As indeed does the omnibus murder itself. Be that as it may, I recall neither the disc nor the small box being mentioned in the course of those proceedings. Miss Lestrade. Would you tell the court now, please, what really happened in the omnibus 2 months ago, I mean? I don't know what you mean. I already said all what I know. And what about everything you told us yesterday from inside your prison cell? Please, Miss Lestrade. This is extremely important. But... Remember, little girl. If it transpires that you willfully withheld information in the trial 2 months ago, the Home Office will speak to prosecute you for perjury. And naturally, we lose all credibility as a witness. Although, let's face the facts, we have little credibility to lose.
Ginny, don't listen to him. Please, you have to choose Runo now. Iris, we're on your side.
Alright then. I'll talk. It's the right choice, Gina. Well, it would seem that my learned friend is hellbent on bringing the entire courtroom down about his ears. So be it. I must confess that I'm struggling to understand what on earth is happening here. However, it would appear that Mr. McGilden's pawned articles and that extraordinary case of the omnibus harbor secrets of which we have been hitherto unaware. So, Miss Lestrade, we now give your testimony before the court about the events 2 months ago. You will reveal the truth, a commodity sorely lacking in your original statements. This is it then. Everything's gonna come out. Like Van Ziek said, this could bring the whole courtroom down about my ears. But as a lawyer, I'm prepared to take that risk. Oh, man. Okay. I think this is a good place to stop. I played a little bit longer today, just because it was getting so interesting. But I don't want to go too much longer, so it gets too late. But man. Oh. This is getting intense. I'm very excited to continue this next time. But yeah. So, thank you all so much for watching. This is Great Ace Attorney, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.